Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a Q&A episode. It's going to be a Q&A episode, but I'm going to be using Chat GPT for the prompts and for everything. We're going to be doing 20 questions about me, about the show, about Real Madrid, and all of that. So we're going to load up Chat GPT and see if she's willing and ready to do it. Hey ChatGPT, I've got a question. I'm gonna do a Q&A episode for my podcast Real Talk. I need you to give me 20 burning questions about me, about Madrid, about the show, the YouTube, the Apple Podcast, Spotify, all that. Just make them engaging and real. 20 questions. Can you do that? And if so, give me the first question.
Absolutely, I'm on it. I'll put together 20 engaging and thought-provoking questions for you. Let's start with the first one right away. All right, here we go. First question: what inspired you to create the Real Talk podcast, and what do you hope listeners gain from it?
Good question. So really what inspired me is because I watch a lot of content creation and a lot of content creators I watch who do like these football centric and sports centric channels. So I really thought that, I had a lot of spare time and I wanted to get into content creation, but I didn't know what exactly would work for me. So one thing that I decided was if I can do something based with something I love, content ideas and, making content would be easy and feel natural because it's something I'm interested in actually, instead of being superficial and just going for something everybody else is doing. So really for me, I thought, okay, I love watching football. I love watching Real Madrid, the team I support. I can do content based on them. I can easily get some ideas even from the online space. And I feel like when you're doing a podcast about like a team you love and like football in general, if you love the sport, it's not as hard for you to get into like starting and making good content at the start of the show. So does that make sense?
Absolutely, that makes perfect sense. It's all about blending your passions and making content that feels authentic and enjoyable. I love that approach. Question 2: what has been the most memorable moment or episode so far on the Real Talk podcast, and why does it stand out to you?
That's another good question. So personally, I think what I would say is the most entertaining and like fun one I've done was because it was a shift for me. I think it was one of the tier ranking ones. I think it was the one where I ranked. It should be the one where I ranked the Real Madrid kits. I was gonna go with the one where I ranked the positions of every player in the club, but I think with that one it was easier because I was just going like off my emotions. Like, okay, I like this guy, I love this guy. We can transfer you. You can go out. But when it was the one with ranking the kits, I some of those kits I hadn't even seen before. So it was like I was seeing them newly and trying to rank them based off like, do I like this one? And it was a very fun video, and you guys should go check it out. Very fun episode. You should go check it out if you haven't watched it yet. But yeah, that was my next. That was my. I think my favorite one. It was ranking the best Real Madrid kits from I think the first ones to date, and I even ranked the ones for this season. So I do mean it when I say to date. But that was a very fun question.
That sounds like such a fun episode. It's awesome that you got to dive deep into your personal preferences and share that passion. All right, let's move on to question 3. How do you balance covering Real Madrid content with the other aspects of your podcast? And what kind of topics do you enjoy mixing in?
That's actually what I was trying to. I'm planning to do for season 2 of the Real Talk because I feel like if I just talk about Real Madrid, I'm just another Real Madrid podcast. But if I talk about football and do different things in that space, especially now because I put season 2 on YouTube, so I feel like on YouTube people don't really like that longevity type of video, holistic like podcast with no, unless it's like a visual podcast where they're seeing people, but audio podcasts on YouTube I feel don't do the best. So with the YouTube, I'm trying to branch out and do more things. Some of the things I can do is maybe covering other leagues, covering La Liga. I try to do some news here and there in football. I try to do like Ballon d'Or. I recently did an episode on the Ballon d'Or list that came out and my review of it and everything like that. So I just want to do more engaging football based content, not go too and not to deviate too much from keeping it in the football blood and keeping it related to Real Madrid, because initially when people come to the podcast show they're interested in Real Talk, so it's about Real Madrid.
Makes total sense, and it's great that you're expanding and bringing in more variety while still keeping that core focus on Real Madrid. It definitely keeps things fresh and engaging. All right, let's dive into question 4. What are some of the biggest challenges you've faced while creating content for Real Talk, and how have you overcome them?
Good question. Good question. So I think one of the biggest challenges that I think I can say I am facing, which I don't know if everyone does it, but for a lot of people who are starting channels, I feel like you face this, is we make the mistake. When what I was told when I was like researching about starting a channel or even a podcast or just getting into online content creation is just go in. Don't always have fear. Don't just have a bunch of ideas in your mind and then you end up being that person who never did content creation because you never know what will work for you, what will work for people, what can make you happy to post. But the side effect of that is I confused it for meaning like just go in and just start doing things, but you're supposed to plan. I made the mistake of not planning early on. So one of the challenges I face sometimes is I just blank. I have like writer's block for ideas of what to post, and they say don't like look for the whoever looks for like the perfect video. There's nothing like the perfect video. Just post and see what the content, how it relates to other people, because it may be bad for you but good for someone else. But for me it's more like I don't want to just rush in because I can actually create a bad episode, like an objectively bad one that will do low. So it's trying to find at least good content and ideas. But how I've overcome it is now I take some breaks. So what I was originally going to be doing was posting an episode, I think 4 episodes per week. I wanted to actually do that. I was ready to do 4 episodes per week, but then I realized that would make me burn out in like the first month of the podcast. So what I do is I try my best to release at least one minimum per week. So each week there's a new Real Talk episode like an actual podcast. And that helps me because in between that time of posting, I like to not create one, but what I say is for every video that now uploads live on the channel, I have to make sure I create ideas for the next 4, and the next 4 after that, and the next 4 after that. So that's just how I get over that.
It's a fantastic approach. It's definitely a balance between consistency and quality, and planning ahead really helps avoid that burnout. It's awesome that you found a rhythm that works for you. All right, let's move on to question 5. How do you engage with your audience and incorporate their feedback into your content?
Okay, so I'm a fairly new. Okay, I'm saying fairly, but I basically am. I'm a new podcast, so I haven't even built up a fan base. So me doing a Q&A this early, it was crazy. That's why I'm using ChatGPT, because I don't even feel like I have the active fan base size for if I had put out a prompt, I'd probably get like one response if I'm lucky. But I'll take this question as a prediction type of question. So what is the type of engagement and feedback I want from my fans? I honestly just want my fans to be honest. I don't want a lot of like yes men fans. So I see a lot of pages. Sometimes people just they get so in love with the content creator that they can make maybe they can just like phone it in on an episode of their shows or a video on their channel, and other fans would just be going crazy and being like, this is the best video ever, this guy just keeps banger after banger. But I want my fans to be honest. So if you feel like objectively this episode is not my best work, if I phoned it in, I just went a bit lazy on it, I want them to be honest but not harsh. I want truthfully good audience, good hearted people who just want to see the best out of my channel, because I'm there to help them and they're there to help me. So I want us to have that good social relationship. I want my fans, or the engagers, I don't even like to use the word fans for this because it makes me feel like I'm like Drake or something, but I want the engagers of my content to be able to be in a very healthy social relationship with me.
That's a great mindset to have. Building that honest and constructive community from the start will definitely help you grow in a meaningful way. I'm sure as your audience grows, that engagement will become even richer. All right, let's move on to question 6. What are some of your long-term goals for Real Talk, and where do you see the podcast going in the next few years?
That's a very good question. So, right now, I'm really just doing this as a passion project. So this is just like out of the kindness, out of the love, the pure love I have for Real Madrid and for football. And I always wanted to be on content creation side of things, because I don't even like, not even for monetary reasons, because I'm from Zambia and we don't even have a partnership with YouTube. So I'm not even getting directly paid, no matter how successful this channel or these other sides were to become. Of course, the money aspect later on is one of the good reasons you would want to do this. But one of my goals is just, I would like to have such an engaging audience that some people even actually come to me to see my opinions, and after a game or before a game, a preview, a match review, build up my thoughts, my hot takes on the team, everything about that. And also just my football knowledge, like people actually definitively know that if I go to this guy, he could give me like a good opinion on this and that and that. And also just like genuinely, I want the page to be big, because I feel like if I have a lot of fans, I feel like I have a good startup. I love the team I'm talking about. I love football. I really do love football. I'm not addicted to football because I have I don't like addictions, but I really love football, and I feel like if I can build up a big enough channel where people who love football, and maybe not even in the spaces where people relate to them on those in the topic of football, they can come to my channel and we can be like a big one big happy football family like that.
Such a fantastic vision. Building a genuine, engaged community is definitely the heart of it all, and it's awesome that you're focused on passion first. I'm excited to see how Real Talk evolves over time. All right, let's move on to question 7. How do you stay updated with the latest news and trends in football and Real Madrid, and how do you incorporate that into your content?
Okay, so funny that this is for you guys, not her, but it's funny that ChatGPT is saying that because one of the biggest ways I actually stay up to date with the news is with ChatGPT. So I ask her to research for me and help me when I've missed out on like a week of football because I've been away doing something. I'll ask her to just give me like a breakdown, point by point analysis of the games and how we played and how the leagues went and the positions at the table and everything like that. I also use apps like Flash Score. I use the Fantasy Premier League app for the Premier League just to keep updated. I use Google search like everyone else, just search up a game, see how it's going. I watch the games, of course. I have to watch the games, so that's one of the ways that I know what's going on actively with the team. Because if I just asked Google, it would give me like the most basic response, like Real Madrid attacked Real in the first half, and then they picked up pace in the second and scored 2 goals. But then you find if I watch the game, it's like we were being like totally, bad, and then we ended up just scoring 2 lucky goals. But I incorporate that in the content in the sense of I use her ChatGPT. I'm calling her Google, watching the game like my own analyses, and I make it like how could I turn this not into just me talking about a game, but me making somebody. How I envision it is I'm teaching someone who doesn't watch the games or doesn't research them about what happened in the game in the most simple way possible, where they feel like they watched the game.
Awesome strategy. Combining all those different resources definitely keeps you well informed and helps you deliver rich and insightful content. It's great that you're aiming to make it accessible and engaging for everyone, whether they watch the match or not. All right, let's go ahead and jump into question 8. What has been the most rewarding piece of feedback you've received so far from your audience?
Funnily enough, the most like positive, I find it weird, is some guy commented on my recent video about our game, the last La Liga game we played. I think it was Villarreal, where Vinicius dropped a 10.0 rating, had 2 goals, and I think he didn't have assists, he had 2 goals, and I had like so what I did, right, the thumbnail and the video, because I was really tired for that episode, so I just really like phoned it in. That was one of my like tired episodes because I just had to make something. I felt like I needed to post something because that game was good, but I didn't have the time to like edit and do everything, so I just put a picture of his 10.0 rating throughout the entire video, and someone commented and said 2 things that actually I will take as positive, like the most positive thing I've heard, because it's engagement all the same. He said, 1, you should look into releasing shorter like episodes for the YouTube, because people on YouTube don't always predominantly love to watch 1-hour videos, 2-hour videos, because unless you have the time to actively be on your phone, because the thing with YouTube and most like phones, I think Premium is the only one that does this, but on normal YouTube and online YouTube, when you close your phone, when you close the app, when you power down your screen, YouTube closes. So if you're gonna be watching a 1-hour podcast on YouTube, you're gonna be having your screen on for 1 entire hour of that episode. So he said that you should just like engage in shorter content, and he said try and make like engaging videos where things are shifting, because nobody just wants to look at the same picture whilst they're on their phone or their TV or their laptop or their tablet, any device like that, for 1 entire hour. So for me, that was the most positive engagement, because it was natural. It felt like someone actually watched my content, reviewed it, and had a thought about this and said, okay, I can help this guy out by doing that, which is one of the goals actually I have for the channel. So that was very nice for me.
Valuable feedback. It's awesome that someone took the time to give you thoughtful suggestions that can help improve your content. It's definitely a great reminder to keep things engaging and concise, especially for platforms like YouTube. I'm glad that you got that kind of encouragement. All right, let's move on to question 9. How do you handle the balance between covering big matches and also focusing on the more routine games or news updates?
Okay, that's good. So one of the ways that with season 2 I've changed up the mentality of how I want to do it is, with season 1 my idea was just preview, review, preview before the game, review after the game, no matter what game. Now I like to group I'll call them quote unquote smaller matches, because all games for me are a big game. Us playing Cadiz and playing a Champions League phase game still ultimately decides how close we are to success of that season. So I will group the smaller ones in quotes and put them in like a full-on review different videos. So the video won't even really be a matches review. I won't title it matches review. It will be completely something else, but I'll make sure that I reference it. So it's like what I did with the Vinicius We Need to Talk episode. I made that, but it was referencing the Champions League game we played against Kairat Almaty. So I didn't really necessarily do a review of that game. I did a different topic, but referenced the previous game, because even in that episode I talked about the Valverde thing with the fans saying he didn't want to play in positions he was not comfortable in. I talked about Mbappe's form. I talked about Vinicius being in poor form. I talked about Aragula. I talked about different things, and I referenced previous games. So that's how I managed to keep it up to track. Or I'll do a Madrid news episode where I just round up everything and the performances. So in the last Madrid news episode, I did it after the Kairat game, and then also reference the weekend game against Atletico Madrid.
That's a really clever approach. It keeps the content dynamic and ensures that all the games, big or small, get the attention they deserve without overwhelming your audience. It's also great that you can tie everything together in a cohesive way. All right, let's go ahead and move on to question 10. How do you see the role of social media in promoting your podcast, and what platforms do you find most effective for connecting with your audience?
Okay, so in to answer the second half of that question, the podcast is not just on, I always say Spotify podcast, Apple podcast, YouTube. Those are the main ones I say because those are the big ones most devices in this modern era are using. But I made sure I put the podcast, like my distributor put it everywhere. So you can go on Podcast Index and you guys will find Real Talk. You have to scroll a little bit because it's a new channel, but you find it there. So if you someone who avidly uses Podcast Index for whatever reason, you find it there. I think I'm on Deezer Music too. But I find using YouTube is effective because with YouTube it's natural video engagement. So people go to podcasts on YouTube as videos. So that's why I even like that guy's comment who said that I should work on shorter videos and more engaging like hooks and changes and flashing things in the video. Don't just do one active video going on for 1 hour, because YouTube is active engagement. That's active video engagement, so people can relate, they can comment, they can follow, they can subscribe, they can like, hit the notifications, all that, which you guys should do by the way on this episode. But on Spotify, I've actually been searching and my charts are saying that on Spotify I have the most listeners. By the way, shout out to the USA. I don't know how you guys are my highest listeners. I understand how, because you guys are predominantly the ones I think actively using those apps. But this podcast is registered under Zambia where I'm from, but it's American people who are like my top listeners. So thank you guys for that, by the way. Shout out. I'll check the city that's the most and I'll shout you out in the next episode. But with Apple Podcast, every Apple device, I love that the fact that every Apple device already comes pre-installed with Apple Podcast and it's free to use. You don't have to pay for it. So I too listen to my own episodes from time to time on my iPhone because it's just free to use. So I thought if I post there and it's free to use, people won't have to stress. People won't have to, be like, oh, this guy has posted this thing on Spotify, so I have to get a Spotify premium. Or this guy's put it on Podcast Index and I gotta make a Podcast Index account. Or YouTube, I'm watching in maybe the USA, so I have ads, so I need to pay for premium. But with Apple Podcasts, it's free. So I'll say that one, engagement wise, of like you naturally and actively listening to my episodes, would be the easiest because it's on every iPhone. It's free to use. So, and I feel like a lot of people nowadays have iPhones, so if you got an iPhone, I'm there. But for the people who don't, I got it on Spotify. If you got Spotify, you got an Android, you love Spotify, or you have an iPhone and you love Spotify, I'm there. If you have YouTube, because YouTube is universally, I think, one of the most used apps. So if I'm actively growing bigger there, it means now I'm balancing on both the video scene and the natural podcast apps. Because if I'm just on podcast apps, I feel like I'll just be, what can I say, on those podcast apps. But if I'm on YouTube too, it's like you can catch me everywhere. So you open your phone and I'm everywhere. You open Facebook, you're gonna see me. Not yet, but maybe one day. It's gonna be like that. So for me, that's how I engage it. But if you ask me my favorite right now, I think it's YouTube, because of the potential that on YouTube, because it's video podcasting, I can do so many different videos. Like the one I did with ranking every kit. If I'm posting it to the Apple Podcast and Spotify, I'll have to actively explain the kit I'm ranking. I have to say, oh, it's white and it only has like black lines, or the famous one that was just white. Yeah, you guys could check out that episode, please. That episode was so much fun. But on YouTube, I don't have to over explain like that. They can see that it's just the white kit. So I think YouTube would be my easiest and favorite.
Absolutely, that makes a lot of sense. YouTube definitely offers that visual advantage, and it's fantastic that you're leveraging multiple platforms to reach your audience. It's great to see how you're thoughtfully balancing all the different channels. All right, let's move on to question 11. How do you stay motivated and inspired to keep creating content consistently, even during challenging times?
That's good because that's actually a good question. And early on, I actually faced that because if you guys go check out my posting schedules, I think it's not season two. I think season two was better. I think it was season one. I like blanked after the review of the Arsenal second leg, and then I came back. I think the first Club World Cup match. So for that whole period, I think maybe I'm not sure if it was that period, but there was a period where I blanked and I just didn't like post anything or even record anything. So it's not like I recorded and I didn't post. I actually just didn't do anything with the channel. I've always thought about it because I've actually tried my hand in content creation in different spaces, but with podcasting, it was always natural because one, it's talking, so I love to talk. Everyone who knows me tells me I'm a very talkative person, but I had a misconception going into it. I thought it's just about talking. Like, of course, at the root of a podcast, you are just ultimately talking, but it's still content creation. So there's engagement, there's actively finding out good ideas, what works, search engine optimization, trying to get into the keywords and terms that people will search up and be interested in, and of course making engaging content, because you can't just be talking and people just because it's a podcast they're gonna keep listening to me at my episodes every single day. But for me, how I found it best is I tell myself that if I just stopped every time I felt bad, I would not deserve having a big fan base. Because I give an example of the big people, like imagine a Mr. Beast. He's actively, obviously going through things, even if we don't know his life, but every human goes through tough times. Every human goes through bad spells. So imagine if every time they just had a bad day, they just didn't post. So all our favorite creators just would be having blanks in their channels where they post today and the next post is when they're feeling jolly 3 weeks later. What if it took me 5 weeks to, heal from maybe a traumatic experience I faced or something like that? I wouldn't post for 5 weeks, so my content group, my audience, sorry, would be like, okay, this guy's just inconsistent because they don't know about my personal life and they don't need to know about that because I shouldn't, give excuses. I've told them that you guys actively should listen to me and they're actively choosing to listen to me, so I owe it to them to keep putting out those videos no matter what's going through. Of course, that doesn't mean I have to go against my own health and be like unhealthily just going into the podcast. I need to release this episode. I need to do this. I don't care if I die. I just need to get you guys an episode. That wouldn't be the best decision health wise, but me choosing to keep some videos in the bank because I'm like projecting if I'm away from my studio, not my studio but my setup, if I'm feeling lousy on some weeks, at least I give you guys something so that you don't have to be like, oh, this guy, he's happy so now we get content. It shouldn't be like that. So that's how I do it.
That's such a thoughtful and balanced perspective. It's really admirable that you keep that commitment to your audience while also taking care of yourself. It's definitely about finding that sustainable rhythm and staying inspired for the long haul. I'm sure that dedication will really shine through for your audience. All right, let's move on to question 12. What are some of the most memorable or surprising moments you've had while recording the podcast so far?
Okay, so memorable. I'll answer this one quickly because I've only done a few episodes, so I feel like it would even be weird for me to be like, oh, well, back. I have to think back in my day when I started this podcast. No, I've been up for like 2 months now, so I've only got a handful of videos. But most, one I would say was interesting was when I was making the kit one. I kept getting disturbed because, by the way, guys, why I corrected myself from saying my studio, my setup is because I don't have no studio. I record from my bedroom at home, and I am not living alone. I am living under a roof of people who take care of me. And when I was filming the one about the kids, I just kept getting disturbed. Like I couldn't have like 2 minutes of good time. So the way you guys hear that, I think there's even a point somewhere there where you guys can like hear someone, calling my name, I think, or maybe just asking me something in the background, but I cut it real quick. You guys might hear that being a clean video. It didn't have too much interruptions, but I tell you, I promise you, it took me about 5 tries and asking, like, actively going around the house, asking people, telling them that I didn't tell all of them that I was doing the podcast because some people don't even know I'm doing this. Not because it's like bad or anything, I just haven't like said it openly like that. But I had to go around saying I want to do something and I need quiet, so I'm just kindly asking if you guys can be quiet for just this bit, like not quiet, but like just don't be around this area of my room like making loud sounds. So that one was very interesting. I think that one will answer for me both. That episode, I was just really trying to get the episode out, and I was screen recording using the audio off of the iPad because I didn't have the mic yet. I still don't have a professional mic. I'm still using like easy ones.
Absolutely. It definitely shows how dedicated you are, and it's amazing that you still push through those challenges. I'm sure those behind the scenes moments really add character to your journey. All right, let's move on to question 13. How do you keep your content fresh and engaging as you grow your podcast? And do you have any plans for new formats or segments in the future?
Hey, yo, chat, you trying to review everything, bro? Okay, nah, joking. So, how I keep it fresh and engaging is I'm really someone who's avidly, always watching YouTube. I tell you guys, I know we're going through like the TikTok revolution with all this like major waves and short form content and these straight videos, so reels, shorts, TikToks. I love YouTube. I love long form videos. I love podcasts. I love watching like Jubilee long, like 1 versus 20 step up 2 hour podcast, like shows like that. So when I've been watching them all this time, one of the things I've like built up and been able to get is like how these people. I ask myself the question to those people, like, how does this guy just keep coming up with ideas? Like for example, I'll talk about the biggest person in this space, Mr. Beast. Like, how does he always keep coming up? And not now, because now maybe even he has a team, I know that. But when he started, like, how did he keep coming up with videos? Did he ever just get bored and be like, okay, I don't know what to do? But what I know is to keep it engaging is just keep trying to push out what feels natural and coming out of you. But also the fact that when the new segments and things I would like to do, I would actually like to try, as I said before, I'd like to just go from the regular old like ways of just making like normal Real Madrid based content and actually try and go into this space where it's more like I'm creating engaging videos and other things that are like encompassing the football world, and that's how I'll keep it fresh and refrained, okay?
Got it. Moving on to question 14 then. So for question 14, let's dive into how you plan to engage your audience more effectively. For instance, do you have any new interactive elements or audience participation ideas in mind? Let me know your thoughts and we'll keep the momentum going.
Wow, you really like to you're trying to spoil my channel here. But okay, no, more engagement things I like to do. I said, first of all, I wouldn't be doing a lot of engagement content right now because I feel like I've relatively started this channel pretty new right now. So I don't even think I have the big enough like fan base for me to be able to like start doing like full on, engagement based videos. So like for example, this one, normal Q&As is where I ask the audience to ask me questions instead of like asking you. But it's because I don't have that big of an audience yet. So that's why I'm doing things like this and making content like this. So that's basically my plan. But in the future, the type of engagement I like to do is like I like to do a live channel, like a live episode where I actively am talking to you guys and just making sure that you guys can ask me questions on the spot and I don't have any preparations for those questions or how I answer them. Another one is like doing football challenges with you guys, doing trivia quizzes and things like that, just to keep it like keep the audience inside the channel, let you guys be in it and feel like you're part of the creative of this channel. So that's how I would answer that question.
That sounds like a solid plan. Building engagement gradually and focusing on Q&As and interactive content as your audience grows is definitely a great approach. And then once your community is more established, diving into live episodes and real-time interactions will definitely take it to the next level. Love the vision. To question 15, how do you plan to measure the success of your Real Talk content? For example, are you focusing on metrics like viewer engagement, subscriber growth, or maybe feedback from your audience? Let me know your thoughts on that.
That's a good question. Actually, I think it's a mix of like far and few between, like all of those things. So if I have a good subscriber growth, of course that means the channel is doing successfully, because if people are active, because the way I see it is when you do the free subscription on YouTube, even though it's free, there's an element of payment in the sense of you giving me your time and energy for that specific period I'll be posting. So if I'm growing subscribers, it means more people are so engaged with my content, they want it to be input into their algorithm every time they open YouTube. They were like, the chances of them finding a video or episode from my channel is very high if they subscribe, as opposed to just watching once, like watching this time, watching the other one. Like the consistency of watching when you subscribe naturally grows in terms of like liking and like audience, like likes on the episodes and audience growth. That also for me is one of the most bigger ones, because watch time, I need to make sure that one, people are watching my videos entirely, like in their entirety. That's why I took that comment very seriously when he said like you need to reduce the amount of time you spend like per episode on the YouTube episodes, because if people if I'm posting 1 hour episodes, my watch time is gonna tank. I believe my watch time, just because like naturally, retention spans on YouTube are not meant to be for like 1 hour videos in particular, unless they're like very engaging 1 hour videos and podcasts, like video podcasts, that visual ones that you can see. So watch time for me is a big thing. If I can reduce the amount of time I spent on the content being posted out, and the amount of content timelines of the content, and people are watching those more engagingly and longer, that makes a good estimation of growth, because people are managing to watch my videos throughout from start to finish, and not just like going halfway, seeing a short, and then just clicking that and falling down a rabbit hole and forgetting about my episode likes. Because genuinely, I feel like if you've liked something, unless you're just someone who just likes so willy-nilly, but genuinely, like for me personally, when I'm watching any form of social media, if I like something, I like something, I use it for the intended purpose. So if I'm getting more likes on my videos, more watch time, if I'm getting more views on my channel, that means that more people are engaging with the content, especially because I'm a newly formed channel. So that means that if I'm getting more views, if I'm getting more watch time, the viewership's going up, watch time's going up, subscribers going up. It just encompasses everything. Audience reactions to my content is a very big one, because a lot of people, I can have a channel where I have let's say 182 videos, I have an average of about 10,000 views, like 10,000 monthly viewers are like actively listening to the podcast on all platforms, by the way. And then I have like a huge amount of likes, but nobody ever comments, nobody ever gives me their thoughts, everyone's just taking it in. So it could even be like that's where I would even feel like maybe a percentage of that viewership is even not just real people, it's bots. So just people actively just clicking the video, watch it. Okay, I don't really care about this guy, he just yapping, goes away from the video. But if I have 182 videos, 10,000 averaged listeners across all platforms, like monthly, I have a high subscriber and following count, if I have a high like account, and I have comments that are not just like bot comments, I have actual audience reactions to my content, I feel like that's a very good indicator that the channel is doing well, it's healthy, it's growing, and I would like it to go further from there and just be more like that. So that would be my answer.
That's a fantastic and comprehensive approach. It really shows how you're thinking about every angle of audience engagement and growth, balancing metrics like subscriber growth, watch time, and genuine audience interaction definitely sets a solid foundation for success. I love that you're keeping an eye on the quality of engagement as well as the numbers. All right, let's jump into question 16. What strategies do you have in place for adapting your content based on audience feedback and analytics? For example, do you have plans to tweak your content style or introduce new topics based on what your audience is enjoying? Let me know.
Okay, that's a good question. At first, when you started it, I thought you were talking about like me, like you're asking the same question as before, where it's like, how do you plan on like encompassing new ideas? But now you've tied it in with the audience reaction part, which I just said was a big part for me in the growth of this channel, and that's a good question. So the way I would say it is, if my audience is actively watching my content and are leaving, reviews and comments of how they would like a shift in certain content topics, I wouldn't just like, because I don't want to lose the heart of what my channel is, because I feel like when you make a podcast channel, a YouTube channel, any content creation space channel, you don't do it just for the audience. It's also about your passion. So for example, it's like if Mr. Beast started releasing videos and everyone's commenting, say, I want you to just start doing Get Ready With Me. I'm tired of all this 100 kids versus one strong man. I'm tired of all this, can 12 twins beat 3 triplets videos like that. No, everyone's just saying, we want Get Ready With Me with your wife or his fiance, and we just don't want any of these Mr. Beast type of videos. He wouldn't stop making Mr. Beast type of videos. What he would do, I assume, in his position, as someone who's been in the content creation space for a long time, is he would adjust his content at certain levels to match what the audience wants. Because the minute I start to just change or shift the dynamic of my channel and the main goals of my channel and the main purposes and themes of my content based on audience reactions, I don't become my own channel. I become the channel of the week, to say in quotations. I'll say the channel of the week, meaning that I become what everyone wants to see for the day. But then that's a very slippery slope, because what about the times when I make a video doing match review and then people say, okay, we don't like match reviews, we just want you to do football trivia, and I start posting the most football trivia episodes? What about the people who found Real Talk because of me doing match reviews? They'll be like, okay, I came to this guy because he has some good match reviews about Real Madrid games and even some Champions League, Club World Cup, all these other league games. Now he's not doing that. Oh, he does football trivia, so it's just the trivia. He's the trivia guy. It's the trivia show. I don't like trivia too much. I can watch it, but so they leave a comment saying, I used to watch you for this, I don't do it anymore. Then I go back to doing reviews and I've left those guys. And then another guy comes in and says, no, what I actually want you to do is just do player rankings. I love your tier maker episodes. And then I just start doing that. So you see, I don't want to just become flippant on everything anybody wants, everybody gets like that. What I would do is, if a mass amount of my subscriberships or followerships are saying they want this type of content, once in a while I'll do something like that, but not make it the integral part and like theme of all my episodes or videos, depending on which platform I'm posting on. So that's how I think I would react to like audience reactions saying they want this particular version of content from the episode, from the show, or from the channel.
That's a really balanced approach. It's great that you're considering both your passion and your audience's feedback, making sure you stay true to your channel's core while still being adaptable. It definitely keeps your content authentic and ensures that your audience remains loyal for the long haul. All right, let's jump to question 17. How do you plan to collaborate with other creators or influencers to grow your channel? Are there specific partnerships or cross promotions you're aiming for? Let me know what you have in mind.
Okay, good question. So firstly, I want to highlight it because I said this earlier before when I said that my channel is actually based in Zambia, and for anybody who still doesn't know what that is, it's a country in Africa. And so in my country, we don't actually have a paid promotional sponsorship deal with YouTube. So any creators on this platform who make content, whatever the content is, they don't get paid directly from YouTube. So even if I reach like a viewership amount of 1,000 consistent monthly viewers, I wouldn't be paid the amount another creator whose country has a paid partnership with YouTube would be getting for those 1,000 monthly thing. So the only way I can make like feasible income from this is if I do paid partnerships with other things, like, you know, other spaces outside of YouTube, which is ad sponsorship. Then that's the only way I can make money. So firstly, if I get big enough, I would like to do paid partnerships, but I would like to keep it. One thing I hate personally, I'll say, I don't know if you guys, you can leave it in the comments down below in this YouTube video for those of you on YouTube. If you guys hate this, it's something that peeves me, where there's a channel that does paid sponsorships with products that are not even like, literally connected to his channel. So let's say it's a self-improvement and self-growth channel, and then he's doing sponsorships with League of Legends. I find that so, and I'm not judging. By the way, I'm not judging. You know, if I had the opportunity right now where I am on a small channel, if I made some small followerships and I needed to make income off this, I would do Who Wants to like put their brand out. But I wouldn't just put everyone out. I wouldn't just like I'm doing football content and then a food place tells me to do an advert, and then my video, and then how would the video even feel like, you know, logistically connected, where I start by talking about, oh, Mbappe was doing well, but first of all, you know what else is doing well? McDonald's is Big Mac Double McFlurry. Come on and get it down. Use code 20 for 30% off your first 10 orders off the DoorDash app. You know, that wouldn't make sense, because it would be like, what where did this guy go from? As opposed to if I was doing an episode about Madrid's review and everything, and then I did a sponsorship with a sports related or what can I say, fitness related business in my country that has done a paid sponsorship with me. And that's how I would like to make sure that it's a very interconnected one that makes sense, and that's how I would do the paid sponsorship thing. As for your other one with partnerships and everything, if I do find people within my space who, like, when I say my space, I mean both content creation wise and location wise, like my country. If I find someone who's like also interested in the type of content I'm making, I actually would really love collaborative videos, because I feel like those can really help out the channel. It's always good to socialize with other channels. We help each other grow. They're fun, because if I'm just a podcast where I'm just talking alone, like, if seriously, one of my goals that I wrote down when I started this channel was, if I grow big enough, I'd like to be big enough that I find someone else who has the same passion, even especially for my team, or if not my team, the sport, and talking about it, the online space, who's more comfortable with it, just like I am. I would like to have a co-host on this show. I would like to have someone who is with me making these episodes, because sometimes just for going like 170 videos just talking alone endlessly, no partnerships, I feel like you get a little bit repetitive. There's only so much you can do alone in this content creation space, especially nowadays where with social media and everything, it's so much easier to connect to other people. So if I'm always just doing things alone, it almost even feels like I don't want to do partnerships, I don't want to do collaborative projects with people, but I would love that so much. So I think that would be my answer to that question as a whole.
Absolutely, that makes a lot of sense. Collaborations can definitely bring fresh perspectives and energy to your content, and it can also help build a stronger community. It's awesome that you're open to that, and looking forward to having a co-host and making those connections locally as well. All right, I've got it. Let's move on to question 17 then. Next up, I'd love to know how you handle feedback and criticism from your audience. How do you incorporate that feedback into your content creation process? Feel free to share your approach.
Okay, so Actually, right now, like I've been saying, I don't think I have that big an audience where I had feedback. So realistically, the only feedback I had, and I keep talking about that guy, and I think maybe in this video, I'm gonna find the comment, and on the YouTube one, I'll put his comment in this video somewhere. I believe that if someone is giving you negative, like purely just negative comments, not criticism, but negative comments, they just say like, I hate your channel, I hate this and that about you. That's not something to take literal. You know, a lot of people can troll, a lot of people can hate, and you know the fact that this isn't even a visual podcast. So if he hates me, he just hates the voice he's hearing. That could not even be my voice. What if I'm the one writing the scripts and someone else was the one talking? So if it's a purely like negative comment, I'm just not gonna look at it. Unless there's some truth to it, maybe I'll just like see where, try and put it like how I always see it is, if someone gives you a negative feedback, like deeply negative, even like hateful feedback, I put myself in their shoes and say, what creative constructive criticism decision was this guy trying to get at when he said this? And if I can't find none, useless comment. If it's something that's actually constructive criticism, like the guy who said, you know, because I could have taken that very poorly. I could have said, replied to him and been like, just stop watching my channel, you know, that it's a podcast, brother, you know, you don't know that a podcast is supposed to be long, get a load of this guy. No, but I understood where he was coming from. He's someone who's saying that it's not that podcast shouldn't be long, it's that if you're on YouTube, you're gonna tank in watch time if you keep releasing 1 hour, 2 hour, maybe 1 hour 30-minute videos of you just talking, and there's just a singular picture on screen. So he was objectively looking at my content, breaking it down, and seeing how he could help me. That's what I'm talking about. How can they help me through this comment? So if it's a positive one, I'll take it. If it's constructive criticism that seems a bit harsh, I'll always try and look for the positives. And if I can't find a positive one, like those I said, hate comments, you know, why should I let those get to me? They don't even know how I look. I've said I'm in Zambia, but they don't even know where. Some people maybe not even know what that is. So it's, what's the best approach this comment was trying to get at in helping my channel? So I put myself in their shoes and say, if I wanted to make this guy's channel better, but I'm a little bit of a hater, what good thing am I trying to say in my bad words? So that's how I would take it.
That's a really thoughtful approach. It's definitely wise to distinguish between genuine constructive feedback and just negative comments by looking for the underlying intent and seeing if there's something valuable in the feedback. You're really keeping an open mind and staying constructive. It's great to see how you're navigating that balance. All right. Let's head to the next question. What are your long-term goals for your channel? Where do you see it in the next few years, and what kind of impact do you hope to have? Let me know your vision.
Okay, you asked me a similar question, but I'll just answer this one. But I'll answer this one in a more strategic way than going into a bit of a story. So long-term goals, I already said it, but I want a big channel. I'll be honest. A lot of people come in, I just want to have fun. I love having fun with you guys, and I'll get to that in my next point. But I, of course, want this channel to be successful, because if I'm actually giving my time and energy into this channel, I would love to see it flourish. I would love to see it be paid off in some form, way, shape, or form. Doesn't even mean I have to become like the #1 podcast in the country or even in the world, you know, bar that. But it's more of just, is it something that some people, even if I have a few people who are consistent viewers and loving it, and I'm not making true profit from it, that would actually, you know, that there's a payoff in some way, shape, or form. The second thing, I'll turn into what I was talking about in the first point. I want to have an engaging audience. I want an audience that knows that they are real talk. I don't like the word fans, because it makes me feel like I'm this type of like superstar podcaster or something like that, but I will use the word fans for lack of a better term, is they are real talk fans. I mean that in the sense of, not that they're just like, you know, worshiping my channel, worshiping me, but they love the channel, so they love to do a refresh pull and see a new episode from my channel, and they ask for a new episode consistently and love it when I post. They engage with me when I don't post. If I start a community, they're there to like, you know, actively, you know, check up on me. I check up on them. They tell me, why aren't you posting? They say, I don't like this episodes you've been releasing lately, go back to the new thing. I want that. I also want a large following and subscribership on this, and genuinely, I would also love to see like some profitable goals. Like, I'm doing partnerships, you know, people know that this podcast can help someone else grow. I can help start another channel, and just like that, to be honest.
That's a fantastic vision. It's awesome that you're aiming for a blend of passion, community engagement, and growth. It's definitely about building that loyal and interactive audience who genuinely cares about the content. And it's great that you're open to partnerships and profitability as well, making sure everything's sustainable in the long run. All right, let's keep going. Next up, let's talk about your content creation process. How do you plan and organize your episodes to keep them consistent and engaging? Let me know how you approach that.
Okay, so I don't actually have the best like content schedule calendar type of thing, but I'm trying to make one in the sense of as and I said this before. I think maybe you didn't like. Okay, it's kind of asking a little bit of a repeat question, guys, but I'll just answer them because you have to understand. It's not a person asking this. It's just like trying to keep memory. And I did pause this and come back after some time. You guys probably couldn't tell where the cut was, but there was a cut somewhere in here, so she didn't understand. So for the content creation table thing, I go back to what I said before. If you guys were listening, I said the new way I want to do it is I post an episode weekly. I post weekly episodes, but for each episode I post, I create 3 more for later time. So I'm always like a month ahead because there are 4 weeks in a month. So if I'm posting one and keeping 3 in the bank, and those 3 are not the ones I'm going to be posting the second week, third week, fourth week. No, those are like some spare episodes where if I don't have any ideas, I post them. So I'm having about a month's worth of content in the first week, basically. And I make sure that on that first day, I research what's the best episode I can make for today, what's the best episode I can make for next week, and then the week after that, and the week after that, and the week after that. And then I keep those that can be the spare ones there. The problem is, because I've also chosen to do some match previews and reviews, the problem comes in is where some episodes genuinely just can't be posted like later. I just try and finish that, and I'll keep these episodes and I'll do them like that and post them later, but the reviews and previews have to be posted that week. So that's how I would do it.
How about we explore your inspirations and influences? What podcasts, creators, or experiences have shaped your style and approach? That should be a fresh angle.
Okay, that's a good question. So I'll start with podcasts. Podcasts that helped me actually change what I thought about podcasting. Of course, I'll give some shout outs here. These are actually not even football podcasts, but they're some podcasts that helped me see that podcasting could be fun. Okay, I'm saying the word podcasting a lot of times. I just did it again. Okay, so I have the Impulsive Show by Logan Paul. I have the George Janko Show. I have Modern Wisdom. I have Dara Vecchio. I have, I would say also, a football one is the ESPN podcast, which is the Jews and Gab and Jews one. So those podcasts and some of the other ones that I can't think of right now, they are the ones that opened me to the world of podcasting, because I used to listen to them and I'd be like, oh, this is actually quite fun, because it's quote unquote less work, of course, than making long term YouTube videos like a challenge video, like a Jesser video, something like that, where it's like different editing things and that. It's more just we're having a sit down conversation. I'm talking to you, I'm talking to this guy. We have to worry about the cameras getting it correct and everything like that, and just like that. But when it came to creators, I would say I have, of course, the Goals Front 3 channel. I have I'm gonna try and go for football ones here, because I think I can't just start listing YouTubers. But Goals Front 3 channel. There's also the Box to Box show. There's also the SDS podcast. Yeah, that's one that was the major one when I started watching the SDS show, because I watch Faisal. I don't know if you guys know who Faisal is. He's a Real Madrid fan who does La Liga content and football content like that on YouTube, but he's also on the SDS podcast. You should go check them out. They really were the intertwiner, because they said, okay, they have football content and they have a podcast, and they're doing it like this. So I thought that was one of the things that inspired me. So those shows helped me form it, and then they helped me come up with the ideas of how you can enter this space and how to create engaging content in this space. And because of watching those guys, they've helped me maintain like a good level of an idea of how these type of shows should go on, and the type of content that you can do away from just talking always about your club on a channel. You can do other things but still be rooted in what you started your channel in. So those are some of the podcast and YouTube channels that got me into this space and inspired me to start doing the content. But that was a good question. I liked it.
That's awesome. It's really cool to hear how all those different shows and creators shaped your approach and gave you that inspiration. It's always great to draw from a mix of influences, and I'm glad you enjoyed the question. Okay, so for question 20, let's dive into something more personal and reflective. What's a meaningful lesson or a pivotal moment you've experienced through your podcast journey that's had a lasting impact on you, both personally and professionally? Let's explore that.
Wow, you really went all out for the final question. Okay, so the personal experience that has really left a lasting impression on me from doing my podcast journey is, one, learning that I grew a newfound respect for people who are in the content creation space, especially the people who are in the podcasting space. Because when I started, I used to do some YouTube here and there. I deleted my old videos and everything, but the phase where we were all young and wanted to be YouTubers. Maybe I might go back one day, but that's why I'm on YouTube now. Please make sure you subscribe and like the video and share the podcast with a friend. Anyway, yeah, back to what I was saying. I used to think that podcasting was easy, because I'm like, how do you find it harder than YouTube? You're just talking. But then that's the thing, you're just talking. You don't have these quick cuts, these quick edits, these explosive, like, videos that you're making. You don't have like going around targets, beating up old men, but it's like secretly my friend dressed up in a costume just to like get pops like that. You have to just talk and be an engaging person as you're talking for people to like your content. So that's one of the personal experiences I learned, and I learned a lot about myself. Like, am I someone who's, first of all, articulate enough? Because I have like certain, like, not speech impediments. I don't have anything like that, but sometimes I lose track of my mind when I'm talking. I have a quick brain. I learn things and then I keep them, but when it comes to explaining, I have to be able to talk with them at the speed I'm thinking of them. Otherwise I get jumbled and lose my mind and lose my words like that. So it taught me, like, it's not an easy space. It's really not an easy space, and I've had to grind. And there are a lot of videos that I could have released, especially when I was saying I was going through that break period in between the Champions League and Club World Cup where I wasn't posting. I really think it was that period. You guys can fact check me. There was a bit like 2 weeks in season 1. Those of you who are on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, season 1 I wasn't really posting. That break was because I had a lot of videos I recorded, but they just didn't feel good because I wasn't doing it right. I wasn't talking right. And I know I already talked before about like not wanting to do the perfect episode, the perfect video, but some of them were just feeling very bad, and I was just feeling like, it got me feeling very low. There were a lot of times I just wanted to delete the channel, scrap it, because I'm really early in it. When you're early in, it's very hard because you try and make comparison is the thief of joy. So as much as I know I'm not like the SDS podcast or Faisal's channel or Ghost Run 3 or the Impulsive or George Janko show, I want to be like them because I feel like I can do a good podcast. But the thing you forget on a personal level is they also started from somewhere. And that like helped me start that. That helped me like realize that I just have to overcome the first barriers. These are just the first hurdles. So everyone, when they start, feels like my videos aren't that good, they're not the best, especially now, because people who like them who started from before, there weren't also that many good videos floating around, but now they've been the ones doing this for a long time, from the inceptions of YouTube, and we're the ones catching them at their peaks, trying to compare ourselves to people at their peaks. So that's one thing that I'm trying to get away. On the business side, like the podcast side of things, it's just, how do I keep putting out good material for the show's sake, not even just for the audience and for myself, but for the show's sake, because it's a business at the end of the day. I need to make sure that I'm making the things that can get it to grow, that can get it to be healthy, which also means improving the standard of the show. So for now I'm doing recording off this, but in some time, like 2 years, 3 years, I want to get like a professional microphone. I want to get like sound systems that make this podcast sound sleek and not just like cheaply done by a college student just making things for boredom sake, because then I wouldn't see it as a professional business. So I think that would be my roundup answer for everything. And this was a good episode, I would say. This was a very fun episode, ChatGPT. Thank you very much. We've had some hiccups here and there, but I've tried to clean out some of them. You guys don't know the half of it. What you're listening to right now actually is the cleaned up version of this podcast, but it still sounds a little bit messy here and there, but it was really messy. I really had to keep relocating because, like I said when I was doing the Ranking Madrid Kids episode, I'm doing this from my house, so I cannot catch a break in my bedroom where I'm just alone for like 40 minutes talking to my phone. But thank you very much for you guys for listening. Thank you, ChatGPT, for doing these questions. They were engaging. I hope I've managed to teach some people something, inspire maybe even some people who are viewing. And I'm gonna, as I said, I put the screenshot of the guy who said that comment. Thank you very much. He's one of the people who helped me realize that I have to shift some of my content's projection of what it should be. So this was very fun, and thank you again to everyone, and thank you again to ChatGPT. Even though you don't feel personal emotions, I'm still saying thank you, because without you, I literally wouldn't have not had this episode out. So thanks.
That was such a heartfelt and genuine reflection, and I love how you shared those experiences and lessons learned along the way. It's really inspiring to see your growth and your dedication. I'm so glad we got to go through this journey together, and I'm excited to see where your podcast goes from here. Thanks so much for sharing.
Alright, thanks, and bye. ChatGPT, signing out.
You're very welcome. Take care, and I'll catch you later. Bye for now.
Okay, guys, so just to round it up, that was my ChatGPT 20 questions and me episode of the Real Talk Season 2 for those of you on YouTube. Hopefully this one, I'm talking from beforehand when I edited, so I'm gonna try and edit it in a way where it's not just like a singular picture of ChatGPT's logo with words. I'm actually gonna try and edit this one to make it a little bit more engaging, because I know it's on the longer side. But I do ask for one thing. I do ask not really for you to subscribe to the channel and like the content. If you feel like you want to like this because you like it, please do like it. And if you want to subscribe and get more videos and episodes from me, subscribe. Or if you feel like checking me out on the other platforms, like I said, I'm also on Deezer, I'm on Amazon Music, I'm on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, as I've always said. Please make sure you go check me out from there. But the challenge I want to give you is, please help me with the watch time. That's just one thing I'll ask. Personally, that's the one thing I'll ask. I won't ask overbearingly for you to subscribe or hit the notifications, because I do want you to do those things, but I just want you guys to give me watch time. So every time you see an episode from my channel, just give it the watch time. I promise you, I'll make sure that you do not regret it each episode from now on, especially with the hindsight that I'm getting from doing this episode and hearing myself speak about my channel. It's making me start to already think of some new ideas and new concepts of ways to make the channel better. So I kindly ask you for your watch time. Watch the videos entirely from the start to the finish. If you have to, do other things, because I know right now a lot of us, inclusive of myself, actually, ironically, I'm doing a podcast though, but I have a very, very low attention span for content nowadays. We've all been ruined by the TikTok brain, as they call it. I engage you to watch this from start to finish, and if you can't, watch 3 minutes. Go away, do your day, come back. Just make sure you come back to me. Save me in your watch later so that you can come back to me and just finish watching the episode. It really helps. It really helps if I have a high average watch time, as opposed to high viewership of people only watching the first 2 minutes of my episode. But that was the 20 questions, ChatGPT and me. I thank you guys for listening to this all the way. If you did, I'm gonna leave a special request. For those of you who have listened to this in entirety, the special word for this episode is rubber duck. So if you have watched this in entirety and you liked it, leave in the comments the word rubber duck, just to confuse those people, just to confuse everyone who doesn't give watch time. That's how we're gonna do it. I said I'm gonna make this like a family community, and so we're gonna mock our siblings who don't listen to the rules, those who decided to leave by question 6. Leave in the comments rubber duck, however you want to do it, and a special emoji of your choice. I will be personally making sure I like and reply to everyone who comments rubber duck, because I'll know that you watch this to the entirety, because it's only if you reach the end that you would do this. And you can cheat and skip to the end, but you know genuinely. I wouldn't know, but you would know. So please give me the watch time. Please come in rubber duck. I just really want to see if I can get this to actually pop and confuse some of the people who check the comments and just see everyone's coming in rubber duck thinking it's bots. But thank you for listening to this. Thank you once again for checking out Real Talk. Make sure you see us on all the platforms. Make sure you follow. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like. Make sure you comment down below. Give me your watch time. Share the podcast with a friend, because it helps the channel really grow, and it would help. You might actually share it to somebody who could later be my co-host one of these days. Who knows? Thanks again for watching. Thank you guys for listening. If you're listening, peace.